In tonight's Consumer Alert, more than 13,000 pounds of chicken is being reconned over listeria concerns.
10 chicken breasts, 10 different sources, bought on the same morning and put through the same 4 tests. Same cut skinless breast, cooked the exact same way in the exact same pan. 6 of them shrank in the pan by nearly a third of their raw weight. One of them had a single word on the ingredient list: chicken, price, shrinkage, sodium, and a blind taste test. Ranked worst to best. The most expensive pack did not win, and the cheapest pack finished last for a reason you can see before you even cook it. Let's get into it. Number 10. Aldi chicken breast. Aldi's plain chicken breast is the cheapest pack in this entire test, and the ingredient list explains exactly why. The label reads chicken, water, salt, and mineral salts, meaning what you are buying is not simply chicken. That 4-word ingredient list is longer than the one on the single best product in this entire test, which says something before we even reach the pan. Mineral salts 450 and 451 are phosphates, added specifically to help the meat retain the injected water through cooking. We weighed the raw pack, cooked it in a dry pan with no oil or added liquid, and weighed it again. The same process was repeated on all 10 packs, timed to the same internal temperature to keep the comparison fair. It lost 32% of its raw weight in the pan, the largest shrinkage of any product tested. That missing weight was water injected into the meat before packaging, cooking straight back out and evaporating from the pan. Food regulations allow this as long as the added water is disclosed on the ingredient list, which is exactly what that short label is doing. Sodium came in at 380 milligrams per 100 grams, more than 5 times what a naturally occurring chicken breast contains. A completely unprocessed chicken breast typically sits around 60 to 70 milligrams of sodium per 100 grams, which makes that multiple worth sitting with. The blind taste panel scored at 5.4 out of 10, the lowest of any product in this test, describing it as watery and short on actual chicken flavor. 2 of the 5 panelists guessed correctly which pack it was before the labels were revealed, based on texture alone. At $8.90 a kilo, this is the cheapest option on the shelf and the one delivering the least actual chicken per dollar once the water cooks out. Adjusted for the water that cooks straight back out, the effective price per kilo of actual chicken meat comes closer to $13 once shrinkage is factored in. Coming up, a pack that looks nearly identical on the shelf and performs almost exactly the same in the pan. Number 9. Woolworths Essentials Woolworths Budget Tier Chicken sits right next to the premium range in the same fridge case, at less than half the price. The ingredient list matches Aldi's almost word for word. Chicken, water, salt, mineral salts 450 and 451. In the pan, it lost 29% of its raw weight, marginally better than Aldi, but still losing nearly a third of the pack to water. A 3 percentage point gap between 2 products marketed as entirely different tiers is a small difference to justify a price gap at all. Sodium measured 350 milligrams per 100 grams, close to 5 times the natural level in an unprocessed breast. The blind taste panel rated it 5.6 out of 10, statistically within a rounding error of the bottom-ranked product. No panelist could reliably tell the 2 apart in a side-by-side blind pour, which is a striking result for 2 products sold under different names. At $9.50 a kilo, you are paying more than Aldi for a nearly identical result, which makes this a worse value rather than a better product. Once shrinkage is factored in, the effective cost per kilo of actual chicken lands close to $13.50, worse than the raw price tag alone suggests. Subscribe now, because the next 4 packs on this list is where the ingredient lists actually start getting shorter instead of longer. The next pack costs slightly less and delivers almost the exact same outcome. From the store, most people assume competes hardest on quality. Number 8. Coles' own brand. Coles' standard chicken breast is priced between the other 2 budget options and performs almost exactly in between them as well. The ingredient list again lists chicken alongside water and the same 2 mineral salt additives used to hold that water inside the meat. Shrinkage in the pan came to 28%, essentially tied with Woolworths, and only marginally better than Aldi. All 3 home brand results landed within 4 percentage points of each other, despite 3 separate companies presumably competing to be different. Sodium measured 340 milligrams per 100 grams, still well above what a chicken breast naturally contains. The blind taste panel scored at 5.8 out of 10, the highest of the 3 home brand options but still solidly in the bottom third of this test. A 0.2 of a point spread across 3 separate companies is not a meaningful difference by any reasonable standard. At $9.20 a kilo, all 3 supermarket home brands land within $1 of each other and within half a point of each other on taste. The verdict across all 3 is the same. The home brand tier at every major chain is running the identical additive playbook. 3 different logos, 3 nearly identical ingredient lists, and 3 shrinkage results within 4 percentage points of each other. Coming up, the first genuinely branded chicken in this test, and the first pack to actually improve on the numbers. Number 7. Ingham supplies a huge share of the chicken sold under other labels in this country, and its own branded pack is where that supply chain shows its default settings. Understanding that scale matters because a change here reflects a change across a large share of the entire market, not one company's isolated choice. The ingredient list still shows added water and mineral salts, but at a lower ratio than any of the 3 home brands. The exact percentage of chicken versus water is printed on the pack, and Ingham's ratio was noticeably higher than any of the 3 budget options. Shrinkage came in at 26%, a real improvement over the home brand tier, though still well above what an unprocessed breast loses in a pan. For reference, the butcher pack at the very top of this list lost just 11% under the identical cooking method. Sodium measured 310 milligrams per 100 grams, lower than the home brands, but still roughly 4 times the natural baseline. Every 10 milligram drop in this measurement across the list roughly tracks with a corresponding drop in shrinkage, which is not a coincidence. The blind taste panel rated it 6.3 out of 10, a noticeable step up from every product ranked below it. Panelists specifically noted a firmer bite, consistent with less water sitting inside the muscle fiber before cooking. At $11.90 a kilo, Ingham's costs more than any home brand but delivers a real measurable improvement across every test we ran. A $2 jump in price brought a 6 percentage point drop in shrinkage, a ratio that does not repeat cleanly anywhere else on this list. This is the first pack in this test where the extra price is actually buying something you can taste and measure. It is not a dramatic jump, but it is the first one in this entire ranking that is not simply noise between nearly identical products. Drop which of these home brands you actually buy in the comments. We want to see how common this really is. Number 6. Steggles is the other major national chicken brand, and it edges out Ingham's on nearly every measurement by a narrow margin. Between them, these 2 brands account for the large majority of branded non-home brand chicken sold at both major supermarket chains. The label lists a slightly lower percentage of added water than Ingham's, though the same 2 mineral salt additives still appear. The improvement is measurable but modest, continuing a trend rather than marking any kind of clean break from the products ranked below it. Shrinkage measured 24%, the best result of any product outside the top 4 on this list. That still means nearly a quarter of the pack's weight was water rather than muscle tissue, even at the best result the national brand tier managed. Sodium came in at 290 milligrams per 100 grams, continuing the steady downward trend as we move up this ranking. By this point in the list, sodium has already dropped by roughly a quarter from where it started at the bottom. The blind taste panel scored at 6.5 out of 10, essentially tied with Ingham's at the top of the mid-tier group. Both national brands cluster tightly together, distinct from the home brand tier below and the premium tier above. At $12.50 a kilo, Steggles is the last product in this test still built around the added water model, just executed slightly better than everything below it. Everything ranked above this point drops the added water almost entirely, which is where the real quality gap in this test actually begins. Number 5. Coles Finest Coles' premium tier drops the added water almost entirely, and the ingredient list and the pan both confirm it. It represents the same company that sells the home brand pack ranked at number 8. Proving the difference is a deliberate choice rather than a supply limitation. The label lists chicken breast with no added water listed as a separate ingredient, only trace amounts of salt from standard handling. That single change in the ingredient panel lines up almost exactly with the drop in both the shrinkage and sodium numbers. Shrinkage dropped to 19%, a meaningful jump down from every product ranked below it, and the first result approaching a natural baseline. The 8-point drop from Steggles to this pack is the single largest jump between any 2 consecutive products on this entire list. Sodium measured 220 milligrams per 100 grams, roughly a third of what the home brand tier showed. That is the first product in this test where sodium content alone would not raise an eyebrow on a standard nutrition label. The blind taste panel rated it 7.4 out of 10, the first score in this test to clear 7. Panelists described it as the first pack in the entire test that tasted like it needed no seasoning to be enjoyable on its own. At $16.90 a kilo, this is a genuine step up in both price and quality rather than simply a more expensive version of the same product. The gap between this pack and the home brand tier below, it is bigger than the gap between this pack and the two products that outrank it. Whether that higher price is worth it depends entirely on whether the extra few dollars per kilo buys a measurable difference, which is exactly what the next result answers. Up next, the same story from the other major supermarket at an even higher price point. Number 4. Woolworths Macro Organic. Woolworths Organic tier costs more than any product ranked below it, and for the first time in this test, that price is fully justified by the numbers. It is also the first product in this test where the certification on the front of the pack and the measurement in the pan actually agree with each other. It comes from the same retailer selling the Essentials pack that finished second to last, which makes the internal gap within one company worth noting. Organic certification requires no added water or phosphate solutions at all, and the ingredient list reflects that with a single line: chicken breast. The certification body audits the supply chain specifically to confirm no brine or phosphate treatment happens anywhere before packaging. Shrinkage came in at 17%, closing in on what an unprocessed breast naturally loses during cooking. Cooking science generally puts natural moisture loss in a lean breast between 10 and 15%, which this result is finally approaching. Sodium measured 190 milligrams per 100 grams, the lowest reading of any product outside the top 2. The blind taste panel scored at 7.6 out of 10, edging out Coles Finest by a narrow but real margin. The gap between these two premium packs is smaller than the gap between either of them and the national brand tier below. At $18.50 a kilo, this is the most expensive supermarket option in this test, and it is the first one where every dollar is doing something measurable. Compare that dollar figure against Coles Finest a step below it, and the extra spend is buying a real, if modest, improvement rather than just a different label. Compare that to Aldi's effective post-shrinkage price of roughly $13 a kilo, and the gap narrows considerably once you account for what actually survives the pan. Hit the like button if a chicken breast losing a third of its weight in the pan is going to change what you buy next time. Number 3. Lilydale Free Range. Lilydale sits outside the standard supermarket supply chain, sourced specifically from free-range farms with a shorter, simpler ingredient list. It is still sold inside major supermarkets, just packaged and processed under a separate standard from the house brands on the same shelf. The label lists chicken breast alone, with the free-range certification printed prominently across the front of the pack. Free range in this case refers to how the bird was raised, while the ingredient list confirms nothing was added after it was processed. Shrinkage measured 15%, better than every product ranked below it and closing in on what raw, unprocessed chicken naturally loses in a pan. That places it solidly inside the natural range. Cooking science would predict for a breast with no added liquid at all. Sodium came in at 170 milligrams per 100 grams, continuing the steady drop as this list approaches genuinely unprocessed meat. The blind taste panel rated it 7.9 out of 10, the second highest score of any product tested. Only 2 products in this entire test scored above a 7.8, and this is one of them. At $17.90 a kilo, Lilydale costs slightly less than Woolworths Organic tier while outperforming it on both shrinkage and taste. That combination, a lower price and a better result, does not happen anywhere else on this entire ranking. That makes it, on a pure numbers basis, the single best value among every premium product tested. Both of the remaining products list a single ingredient, which is more than any other pack in this entire test can claim. 2 products remain, and the gap between them and everything below is bigger than the gap between any other 2 products on this entire list. Number 2, La Leonica. La Leonica raises chicken without added hormones or antibiotics, and the pack backs that claim up with the shortest ingredient list of any branded product in this test. Australian regulations already prohibit hormone use in poultry broadly, which makes the antibiotic-free claim the more meaningful part of that label. The label reads chicken breast full stop, matching the standard set by the single product that ultimately took the top spot. It is one of only 3 products in this entire 10-pack test with a single item ingredient list. Shrinkage measured 13%, the lowest of any packaged branded product and only 2 points behind the very best result in this entire test. 2 percentage points might sound small, but it is the difference between a product that behaves like real meat and one that only mostly does. Sodium came in at 150 milligrams per 100 grams, the lowest reading of any supermarket available product we tested. The blind taste panel scored it 8.3 out of 10, the highest score of any product available in a regular supermarket. It missed the top overall score by less than a full point, an unusually small gap for a product still sold off a standard refrigerated shelf. At $22.90 a kilo, this is expensive by supermarket standards, and it is also the closest a mass market pack came to matching what we found at the very top of this list. 2 percentage points of shrinkage and less than a point of taste score is a remarkably small gap to close for a product still sold in a standard supermarket fridge case. Have you ever compared a home brand ingredient list against the premium version of the same product? Tell us what you found in the comments. One product remains, and it did not come from a supermarket shelf at all. Number 1, the local butcher. A whole chicken from an independent butcher, broken down into breasts on the spot with nothing added at any point in the process. This is the one product on the entire list not sold under a packaged national brand, bought instead from a single independent shop. There is no ingredient list because there is only one ingredient. The packaging simply says chicken. No barcode scanned nutrition panel, no regulatory disclosure requirement for additives, because there was nothing to disclose in the first place. Shrinkage measured 11% in the pan, the lowest of any product tested and close to the physical minimum for cooking meat that contains no added liquid at all. Sodium came in at 65 milligrams per 100 grams, in line with what a chicken breast naturally contains before anything is done to it. Independent butchers explain that supermarket poultry is typically tumbled in a brine and phosphate solution specifically to add saleable weight before packaging. The same tumbling equipment sits in most large processing plants regardless of which brand ends up printed on the final pack. The practice is standard enough across the industry that most processors treat it as a normal step, not an exception applied to only the cheapest products. That single sentence explains almost every number in this entire test, from Aldi's 32% shrinkage down to this bird's 11. Once you know to look for it, the pattern across all 9 packaged products becomes obvious rather than mysterious. The brine solution is legal, disclosed on the label, and completely optional for any processor willing to skip the step and sell chicken as chicken. The blind taste panel rated it 9.1 out of 10, the only score in this test to clear 9, and the clear top result by a wide margin. The gap between this score and the next highest result is larger than the gap between any other 2 adjacent products on this entire list. At $24.90 a kilo, it is the most expensive product tested, and it is also the only one delivering the exact weight of chicken printed on the price tag. Every other pack on this list is quietly selling you some percentage of water alongside the meat, whether the price tag admits it or not. Once every other pack's post-cooking shrinkage is factored in, several of the cheaper products end up costing more per actual gram of chicken than this one does. 10 chicken breasts. 6 of them are mostly water wearing a chicken label. 2 of them are close. 1 of them is simply chicken. Worst value goes to Woolworths Essentials, a nearly identical result to the cheapest pack in this test at a higher price. Paying more for the same outcome is the clearest possible failure a product can have in a head-to-head comparison. Best value goes to Ingham's, the first real improvement over the home brand tier at a price still well under most premium options. It is the clearest example in this entire test of a small price increase buying a real, measurable difference rather than just a different logo. Best overall goes to the local butcher, the lowest shrinkage, the lowest sodium, and the highest taste score of anything in this entire test. No packaged, branded product in this test came within 2 full points of matching that combination. Before your next grocery run, flip the pack over and count how many ingredients are listed for something that should only ever need one. A short list is not a guarantee of quality on its own, but a long one on a product that should be simple is always worth a second look. Which of these 10 have you actually been buying? Tell us in the comments, and tell us if the shrinkage number surprised you. Now click the video on your left because the ham and bacon aisle is running an even more aggressive version of this exact same trick.